Hello and welcome to another episode of our Karak Chat podcast.
An FTI Consulting podcast where we'll be discussing all things women in construction.
We are your hosts. I am Natalia.
I am Nisreen.
In today's episode, we are diving into construction in Middle East, and we are having an amazing guest who will share her insights in construction, expert witness, and female lawyers.
Our guest today is Alison Eslick from Reed Smith.
Alison is a senior associate in Reed Smith's Energy and Natural Resource Group based in Dubai office. Alison specializes in commercial and construction disputes with a focus on international arbitration. She has practiced in Dubai for 16 years, advising local and international clients on disputes in the UAE and foreign jurisdiction, covering a range of industry sectors, including oil and gas, construction, hospitality, real estate, and commodities.
In addition to Alison's impressive career, Alison is involved in equality and diversity matters, and she will be speaking at the Equality, Diversity, Inclusion in Construction Summit in Dubai. She also enjoys volunteering for causes such as marine life conservation in Dubai with her family. Alison, welcome to our podcast. We are very excited to have you here with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so then we'll start. Okay, how was the traffic today? Did you manage to get here on time?
I did manage to get here on time, but I know that other people had some difficulties in other parts of Dubai.
Yeah, like me, it took me like 40 minutes to come from home to here. Normally it takes like 20 minutes. So now we are, the summer is finished, and now the traffic is crazy again, as usually.
I'm so lucky. It took me only 8 minutes.
8 minutes?
Yeah.
You are so lucky.
But it's not always the case, only because the studio is close to where I live. I think it's good before we start just to, because three of us different nationality and we are in Dubai, just to understand like why we came to Dubai. So Alison, why you came to Dubai?
Okay, so I started my career, I'm an Australian, so I started my career in Sydney. And to be honest, perfectly honest with you, it was just luck that I ended up in Dubai. I was working at a firm, a large firm in Sydney, and I got into the elevator one day and I saw a colleague who said, Alison, I'm going to Dubai, I'm working for an international firm and I want to take you with me.
Wow.
And she said, let's have a drink. And then the doors closed and I thought, I don't really know where Dubai is. And so I did have that drink with her and I got offered the job and I thought it'd be a great adventure. So the plan was to stay for 1 year.
Wow.
16 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah.
As usual.
Yeah. I came for 2 years, and this is my 4th year. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I came last year, so I'm new here. I've been here for 9 months. So you came from London. Also, we came on vacation here last February, and my husband said, that's it, I want to move to Dubai. And then in 6-7 months, we moved here. And to be honest, so far, it's been really good move, and we are really happy here. Just life here is very convenient, and yeah, we're enjoying our new life.
Very good. And before your that job, which was your first job?
My first job. Well, if we're really talking about my first job as a teenager, I worked at a pizza shop, the local pizza haven. Yeah, I took orders, I made pizzas, I washed up, and it was next to a football stadium. So we had some very interesting clientele, very happy clientele on a Friday night. So it was a great experience.
And did you always want to be a lawyer? What do you want to be when you were a child?
No, I didn't always want to be a lawyer. No, I wanted to be a teacher, and I loved school. And in the school holidays, I used to line up my sister and my neighbours and teach them in the school holidays. And I don't think they were too impressed with that. But somehow that dream didn't happen, and I ended up pursuing law.
So you mentioned that you have been here for 16 years. So
Yes.
I guess that you love it. How do you find it, UAE?
Yeah, I do love it. I think it was such a great move for me at that time of my life. I was ready to see some new things, and certainly here it was nothing like what I expected. Yeah. The professional life for me has been fantastic. the opportunities in the construction industry. You know, when I arrived in Dubai, there was no Dubai Mall, there was no metro. JLT was kind of a sand pit. So to see what's happened in those 16 years has been amazing. And being in the construction industry, it's just so exciting.
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah.
I think we can move to a topic very close to our heart, women in construction. Ladies, what are your thoughts? Alison, why do you think it's important for more women to get involved in the industry and hopefully to thrive in the industry as well?
I mean, look, whether you're talking about the construction industry or any other industry, I think it's pretty much accepted that diversity is a good thing. So we have better cultures at work, we have better decision making, better business outcomes with diversity. But I think the issue we have in the construction industry is that the statistics really are quite dire. I mean, it's one of the industries, at least if you look at UK statistics, it's one of the least diverse industries. So in terms of on-site jobs, I think it's something like 2%, which is really low. And so, you know, just that in itself means we should be looking at diversity. But I also think it's a bit deeper than that. I think we've got two things that are happening in history right now which are significant. So we've got the AI boom, and that's going to lead to unemployment in some sectors. And we've also got sustainability issues, climate change. So with the AI boom, the UK House of Lords earlier this year did a report that said, actually, the construction industry is going to be one of the industries where job losses are going to be less because there's that human factor in it. So if we don't get more women into construction, they're going to miss out on a huge opportunity when other jobs are being lost due to AI. And it's the same with climate change. Renewables is going to be a boom. You know, if we don't have girls going into engineering and getting involved in renewables, they're going to miss out on a huge employment opportunity in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. Nisreen and I, we are both engineers. So from your perspective, why do you think that ladies or girls, they don't go to study engineering? I don't know, because I don't understand. Okay, I am Spanish, I come from Spain, and I remember that when I was studying, I was 1/3 of the students were female students. But my perspective is when you go outside, I think it's lower, and I don't know why.
I think I had similar experience actually. In my class, we were around maybe 40, if not even 45, as civil engineers. But I think it is a transaction between university and work. You know, most of women after, say, they get married, they have kids, they just rather prefer in the house. And then maybe if they don't have the first job related to engineering, they just choose to do some other job. Or maybe also their perspective that engineering work really need very hard work, and if I want to have a kids or family, better to choose something, you know, not as hard working.
Yeah, I think it's also role models.
I
don't know if we had, you know, when we were looking at career options, I mean, law was there and more girls were getting into law, so I looked at law, but no one ever said to me, what about the construction industry? And I had people in my family who were working in the construction industry, all men at that time, but no one really said it was a serious career option for a woman. So I think that that's something we need to address.
Well, I started working in construction by chance. So I didn't choose it. It just came.
How did you get into engineering then?
Well, I studied because I really love maths and physics. Yeah, I really enjoyed it when I was a teenager. And because of that, I chose engineering. And I guess I think that in Spain, the construction industry is very important. And and that is why I think I'm Spanish, an engineer, and then construction.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, so now moving to the next question. Which are the challenges that young female lawyers and expert witnesses can find when they move to arbitration?
I think probably the biggest challenge is just getting the testifying experience for the experts. And I know the males also face this challenge too. You've got to get your first appointment, and that can be really hard because often when the lawyers are interviewing experts, you know, that's the big question. How many times have you testified? And so it's just hard for a client to say, I'm going to give a chance, you know. So I think one thing that we can do as lawyers is find opportunities, perhaps on smaller cases, you know, to give those opportunities to female experts. And I think that will, once they have that testifying experience, they have, you know, points on the board.
Yeah. Do you think that underrepresenting also play a factor in this as well? Like, because we see more male experts get appointed. So I think it is normal to see a male expert. Why? Because we have less female experts get appointed. I think as a female expert, I feel like you need to establish credibility or work harder just to establish credibility that female expert in construction industry also can do the job.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I think it also comes down to marketing. So I think, you know, getting female experts out there at events and speaking opportunities on panels, I think this is really critical because like you said, if we're not seeing, you don't actually see experts in the room. I mean, the whole industry is not inside your hearing room. So I see the female experts there, but I think we need a bigger platform for female experts to really, you know, sit on those panels. And we're still not seeing completely gender diverse panels out there for marketing events.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well, again, because the construction is a male-dominated industry. So by natural, you'll see more male expert or lawyers than female expert or lawyers.
But I guess also, sometimes when someone is appointed, it's maybe because you have like a relationship, maybe personal
I think also that play.
And I think if you are a male lawyer, you will have more male expert witnesses that you have like a relationship with that not female. I think could be.
Yeah,
one
I
of the
think
reasons.
business development, social events, you know, like
Relationships.
by natural, sometimes male get to enjoy mutual hobbies, and same issue for females. So I think that's how most of the opportunity will be created, by mutual hobbies or social events.
But even I think that is just not the case for experts. I think also when you go to the boards in the companies, you see most of the positions there are because there are a personal relationship with someone, and that is why it's very difficult to find a woman in a board in a company. I think it could be maybe that's another case, another example.
I think though, I mean, since the ERE pledge has been signed and also the ERA pledge for arbitral women, I think this has changed the mindset, at least in terms of my team at Reed Smith. We actually now make a conscious effort when we're recommending experts and arbitrators to our clients to actually put women on the list. And that wasn't something that was happening pre-pledge. So there's a serious conversation around it. And we recognise we might not have personal relationships with certain experts, certain arbitrators. But what we're trying to do is use our network to find other people who can recommend them and make sure that someone is on the list, more than one.
And I think I really like your idea, because me and Natalia and, for example, most of the experts who did not have their first appointment or cross-examination, we always try to get small case, or if it's not really complicated case, just to get your first one, and then after that, hopefully, you'll get more.
Have you experienced or witnesses gender bias in how female lawyers and expert witnesses are perceived in arbitration hearings?
I haven't seen any demonstrated bias against or for a female expert or counsel at an arbitration hearing. I think we now have more women in an arbitration hearing room, and I think if there were any overt sexist comments
Yeah.
or, different treatment, for example, that would be called out. And I think people are now alive to this issue, and I'm not seeing bias overtly. I do wonder about unconscious bias.
Yeah.
And that's something we don't know. We don't know what goes on when the tribunal goes away to deliberate.
Ah, okay.
And so I think the solution for that, if there is a problem, because I don't know if there is,
Yeah.
but there is a question in my mind about it, I think, the solution is to have more female arbitrators in the panel.
Yeah. I think on that point, do you feel like maybe the barristers will be more aggressive in cross-examination? Did you notice something like this, or might not be the case?
I've actually seen the opposite, to be honest. I've been in a hearing where I spoke to the barrister afterwards and I said, "Oh, I thought you were going to go a bit harder on the lady expert because there were some weaknesses." And he said, "No, I'm never going to, be too aggressive with a female." And his style was, he's not too aggressive with either males or females.
Ah, okay.
That's not his style. But he said that could be perceived very badly, it could be perceived as bullying. So perhaps that is an example of different treatment, actually.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but maybe for the best.
Yeah, positive one.
Yeah.
And I think also that's in terms of arbitration process hearing, from your experience, what do you think is, or how can you ensure effective way to collaborate with the expert, to understand the complex technical issues, and maybe if there is any tips you can give for better communication, because sometimes you feel there is a barrier between the lawyers and the experts. So some tips of better communication between experts and lawyer.
Okay, my top tip is please draw a picture. Because lawyers, for me, I've been involved in so many technical cases, but every construction case is different. And the technical issues, especially the engineering ones, are really challenging to understand.
Yeah.
So I love it when an expert draws a picture or gets a chart out and starts, explaining things with a flow diagram. I think, we can all try and sound very smart all the time, but sometimes we have to break things down very simply. Yeah. And you also have to remember that the tribunal are mostly lawyers and they don't have a technical background. So really, that's the first tip.
I think that's good advice, very good advice.
Another tip is to just have a coffee with the experts and get to know them, because, of course, that's really a no-brainer for any relationship.
Yes.
But we're working often late at night, there's a lot of pressure. Clients are increasingly demanding. We all know that. So to have that kind of rapport is really important. And that's whether you're working with male experts, female experts, female counsel, it doesn't matter.
How has the increased presence of female lawyers and expert witness impacted the arbitration process in terms of both substance and perception?
The risk of being controversial, I think we can now say that arbitration is not perhaps the boys' club that it once was, perhaps 15 years ago. And I mean, just to sort of give an example of the change that I've seen on this, back in 2013, I was in a hearing. There were all males in the room, so male counsel on both sides doing the speaking advocacy, male experts, all the client representatives were male, all the witnesses, the fact witnesses were male. I was the only female lawyer in the room and I didn't have a speaking role. And the only other people who were females were the typists who were transcribing for us. So I remember at the end of the hearing, Michael Schneider, who's a wonderful, very senior arbitrator, Swiss arbitrator, at the end he thanked everyone and he said thank you to the counsel for their wonderful cases, thank you to the witnesses and everyone who participated today and was on time. And Miss Eslick, it would be wonderful if we could hear from you perhaps next time. And I sort of thought, oh, goodness me,
Yeah.
He noticed that I was the only female in the room and he it was a call to action to say, we want female voices in the room. And it was a few years later that the pledge was signed in 2016. And then we've also got the ERE pledge. So I think, perceptions are changing about arbitration. It's not a boys' club. Women have a seat at the table now. And I think there's a really big opportunity, to showcase their skills and to bring something new to arbitration.
Yeah, I think I agree 100% as well. Because I started my career in expert witness, I think also in 2013. It was before I did some working on life project as engineer. And then after I finished my master's in 2013, I think in London. In my first job, I was the only female technical person in my previous company. It was like small boutique expert work. And I was the only female there, and it felt a little bit uncomfortable. But then when you think about it, I want to do this job. I think you will find the power within yourself just to do it. And now, just to finish, like in our company now in FTI, we have I think more than 6 or 7
we're
experts already.
Yes.
It's just as you said, It's nice to see all these changes, and hopefully we'll have more changes in future.
Absolutely. At Reed Smith, we also, in our construction team, we have more female lawyers than men. So this is wonderful. So visibly, we're just present.
I just started my career in 2016. Okay, before I was working for contractors, and I moved to arbitration in 2016. And by that time, there were a lot of very renowned expert witnesses, female ones. So I don't know if I can say that there was a change from 2016 to 2024. I don't know. So Alison, do you think that mentorship between female lawyers and expert witness can help them just to progress in the arbitration industry?
Yeah, I do. I think we often think of mentors as someone who's within our company or our law firm, or even just within our line of expertise. So lawyers mentoring lawyers. But actually, I participated in the 30% Mentoring Club program, and it opened my eyes to the idea of cross-industry mentoring. And I actually think the idea of a senior lawyer mentoring more junior expert is a great idea. Or a senior expert mentoring a more junior lawyer is a good idea as well. Because I think there are soft skills, that and wisdom that can be imparted, especially about marketing and networking within the construction industry. So I think that's a good idea.
I actually also never thought about it as a cross-industry, but I think it's really good idea. And I think following of the question, what tips you have or advice for young lawyers or young experts to establish their credibility in the arbitration scene?
I think writing is a good idea. So of course you've got to go and have coffees, you've got to go to the drinks events, you've got to participate in conferences. But I think it's very powerful for a young expert to write, to show their technical knowledge. And it may be that a female expert, a more junior female expert, can collaborate with a more senior male expert on an article and pump it out through LinkedIn,
I think that it's great advice. We try to do a lot of similar activities in our company as well.
Yeah, we do papers.
And articles. I think it's very good advice just to showcase your expertise.
But as well, we provide like lunch and learn to lawyers, and also to young lawyers. I remember that at the beginning of the year, we organized one for a very junior lawyer who just started working in construction arbitration. So
correct.
Yeah, they're a great idea. And I think also, Nisreen, you mentioned about maternity leaves and times out and this kind of thing. And I think you're right. This is a challenge we don't talk about enough when we're talking about diversity. So I think, with the mentoring issue, it could be a very good thing to have someone who's had the time out to mentor
correct.
someone who's coming back in.
Yeah, and to encourage them to come back, because some women after break, or females, sorry, after break, they will think that, oh, maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too hard for me to go back again. And I think that will be really good idea, just to talk about it more, get it out there.
Exactly, and just to have someone saying it's going to get a bit easier. It's going to get harder in other ways, but it's going to get easier as well. Yeah. I was at that point in my career after my first child, and my buddy, actually, it was a mentor, but it was someone who was the same age as me. I called her and I said, oh gosh, you know, this is tougher than I expected. And she said, I promise you, just hang in there, because she'd actually had a timeout, and she said, and now I can't get back in. Don't make the mistake that I did. Hang in there, you know, just delegate more.
I think that's really good advice, yeah. And that's what we already discussed, and I think that is a way to close the gap in the senior level, to have more female presence as well.
So I guess sometimes, so I remember when I did in order to close the gap, I think it's both a kind of experience, but as well it's a kind of training, education, and degrees. And when I did my studies, engineering studies, it was that 33%, 1/3 of us were female. However, when I went higher, I did the MBA, it was not 1/3. It was a 25%. So it was lower.
Yeah.
So I think that because when you start studying and you are getting to go for an MBA or LLM, you start to get in a little bit older, okay? And by that time, most of the ladies are having kids, babies, and maybe it can, it can be difficult. For example, you in your case.
I think I was lucky because I had Max, which is my baby. I had it in lockdown, actually. So even when I was pregnant, heavily pregnant, I could still work in and be at home. And then actually when he was 4 months, I was very bored from staying at home. So I went back to work. So yeah, but I think it's as you said, it's unconscious bias. You know, like even I felt it, even if it's like, it's not really bias, but it's just people trying to be more nice with you. So when you are like really pregnant, maybe as last month of pregnancy or after you have a baby, even when you go back to work, maybe they don't want to put you in the most important project or most demanding project.
Yes.
Which is sometimes it's not because anything, only for them to make you more comfortable and nice, but sometimes you feel, if I don't have my baby, I might be in this important project or in this, but I think that's something also we need to work on.
Yeah, definitely. We have a ramp-up policy at Reed Smiths, which is, I think it's a fantastic policy. It's formalised when someone comes back from a period of maternity leave or an extended sick leave, for example, or sabbatical, they have less chargeable hours. And so I think this is actually really helpful for mums when they first come back. For the first 6 months, it gradually ramps up back to normal. There's not just come in and start like nothing happened.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I think, like as you said, this policy is very good, important, helping female in your firm. Do you have any also maybe tips or tips and we could adopt it in the arbitration industry just to have more involvement of female experts or lawyers? Do you think of any changes? If we do, it might just have more presence of female lawyers and experts.
Yeah, I think, look, one of the issues we have every time it comes to appointing arbitrators or experts, I feel we have an issue where you naturally go to the experts of course,
that's
because you trust them. Where, as I mentioned before, we're trying now to go wider and include females on the list, always, because we've signed the pledge, Reed Smith. We're an institutional supporter of the ERE and the ERA pledges. So we're trying that. But I have to say, it's not very, it's not very scientific the way we appoint or recommend experts and arbitrators to our clients. I would love to see AI leveraged so that we had a really proper database out there where you can search for all the available experts, you know, in Dubai and look at their skills and have everything listed so that we really had a full list before us, not just the last person we appointed or the last person we did a podcast with or, you know, that kind of thing. It's got to be more scientific.
I think that I spoke with someone from the AC, and they are trying to do something similar.
Oh,
Just
that's
trying
good
to,
news.
to not to try to appoint to the same arbitrator again and again and again. And they are trying to include, to give more opportunities to new arbitrators with different profiles. Also, female arbitrators.
That's great. That's great
that would
news.
be-
I think it's need to be from organization level also, so you could also know that there is equal representation of all the firms or all the companies. So it's need to be from organization level, I think.
Yeah, it's a big project.
Yeah.
It could be a money maker, you know. I mean, we could do it and retire, you know, put an app out there. I mean, you know, it could be quite fun.
Well, let's do it. Next unicorn. So now I'm moving to a different subject. Okay, so we spoke about this before, but we discussed that we saw like evolution from the arbitrators, I mean female lawyers and expert witness in arbitration in the last couple of years. So how do you see that evolution in the next 10 years?
Well, I'm really optimistic. I don't have a crystal ball, I'm afraid, Natalia, but, you know, I am optimistic that things like this that we're doing today, the events that are happening, the pledges, I think things are moving in the right direction. And I have to say, I went down to GAR live in Dubai last year as a representative of the ERA pledge for the arbitrators. And I was a little bit nervous. My job was to sign up at least 40 to 50 people to the pledge. And I thought that by now people might be not wanting to talk to me about diversity, that maybe it was, you know, seen now as virtue signaling. There's a lot of talk of that now. And I was very pleasantly surprised that everyone I spoke to, and there were a lot of men that I spoke to, were just, you know, embracing the idea if they hadn't heard of it, and had really good feedback. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah, and I really like your advice. I think we try always to do it. I think you don't need really to wait for opportunity to come to you. I think writing, as you said, writing is very important. Speaking in events, or you know, like you need to get to take the initiative yourself, to market yourself and improve your expertise. I think that is really good advice.
Yeah, because we don't want appointments because we're women.
Exactly.
Right? We want appointments because we're skilled.
100% correct.
But also as well, I think it's a matter of time in the industry. Yesterday or this morning I arrived from Riyadh at 2 a.m. and I've been in Riyadh for 1 week, just working in on site.
Yeah.
Around it was the only female. Worker, person. So I think this kind of changes that presence in the industry and to be seen by others and to keep working in the construction industry. I think at the end, in the future, will give us opportunities.
Yeah, I think you need to show and establish your credibility. And I think, like, this advice, I'll give it also to my younger self, that don't wait for someone to do something for you. You need to push yourself.
Yes.
Don't wait for the opportunity to come to you.
Yes.
As you know, as you said, you could write, have some public speaking opportunities just to market yourself and prove your expertise.
And say yes. I mean, this is the other thing. I think, you know, I've seen opportunities come to me over the years and I've said, oh, no, I'm too busy, or no, you know, I've said no to things.
Yeah.
And then I think, why did I say no? You know, I should have said yes. And I think, you know, women are quite hard on themselves. They want to be perfect. You know, I mean, I know for me. And so, yeah, I think just saying yes. Forget about the perfection. Just say yes. Do it.
Yeah, I think as well to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Because as you said, we want everything to be perfect. So sometimes you overthink, should I do it or not? Maybe later, maybe in better situation.
But I guess if you say yes to an opportunity, for sure, maybe it's not going to be perfect, but you will always learn something. You know, I remember, for example, when I was the first time, I was lead planning engineer for a construction project. It was a natural gas plant. You know, I was terrified, and it was so hard. I spent like 2 years. That was a nightmare. But I learned so much. I worked so much, and sometimes I was sorry for myself. But for sure, I learned a lot. And maybe sometimes in your life you are going to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
The hard way. But you are going to learn, and that is the most important.
Yeah.
Totally
And
agree.
I think following from Natalia's point about hard time to learn, do you have in your mind like specific challenging case or situation when it was very challenging, but then you learned a lot after, or something from this challenging?
Actually, one of my first cases, we had some witnesses who thought they could be a little bit creative they were our own witnesses, creative with their memory of what happened. Yeah, and actually the other side found very clear evidence that contradicted what our witnesses had said. And I remember feeling just so terrible. There was nothing we really could have done because it was what the clients had told us. But I remember thinking, we're going to lose this case because of this. And then my boss at the time said, Alison, no. You know why are you thinking that? We can rehabilitate our witnesses. We can go in there and tell our story. We still have a good case. And it just taught me never to give up. And that's exactly what we did in that case. We went into that hearing. It was a great hearing. Our witnesses stood up there and said, yep, we made a mistake. And this is what actually happened. And they did fantastic. So, you know, never give up. And hard cases, you learn a lot. I agree with you, Natalia.
Yeah, I like this.
Well, as you mentioned before, I guess that I would like to ask you, when you are having those like stress situations in those cases, what do you do in order to switch off from those stress situations?
Oh, look, I like to watch old movies with my kids. My daughter is 9, and so, you know, we put on an old movie, sometimes a black and white movie. It's quite fun, yeah. Because, of course, the old movies don't have much content in them, so it's quite good. And, yeah, just getting out and about, you know, when the weather's good in Dubai. I think, you know, when the air's fresh here, you've got to take advantage of it. And, going for a walk.
Where?
Yeah. A walk.
Yes. Where in Mushrif?
Mushrif Park, yeah. We love Mushrif Park. It's wonderful. So, yeah.
When the weather is nice, a walk is very good. But I think till now it's still hot weather outside.
Only 2 more months and it will be great again.
Well, Alison, thank you so much for being here with us today. We have covered a lot of technical ground. But I think before we let you go, I would like to ask you, what is the key takeaway for our listener from this discussion, you think?
Just be bold. I think, you know, women should just be bold. Go out there and say yes to opportunities and write.
That's good advice.
Yeah, that's good advice. So thank you very much, Alison. It was a pleasure to having you here. And
again, thank you so much, Alison, for being here. We really enjoyed discussing all construction things with you, especially women in construction.
And diversity.
Yeah, and diversity. And please tune in for the next episode of our podcast we will be interviewing more friends and peers from the construction industry.